Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in this specific video, we will be diving into a very great hands-on lab that basically helps you understand how you can automate your EC2 instances management using AWS Lambda service and AWS CloudWatch service. So if you're new to the cloud computing or working with AWS, this is a very perfect way to learn how exactly you can automate everyday tasks and save on the different cloud cost basically. In this specific use case, we are going to see how we can do that in Amazon Web Services Cloud. So what we will be doing in creating an EC2 instance, it's a very first process will be that will create virtual machine, which is very essentially a virtual machine, which is running in the cloud. And then we will move towards to create Lambda function, which is basically a serverless compute service so that you can automatically control your EC2 instances or your virtual machine. And by the end of this lab, we will set up this Lambda function, and so that this Lambda function will be able to start or stop our virtual machines every minute, right? And based on its current state, with the help of CloudWatch scheduling, and we will be having this CloudWatch dashboard, and inside that we will be configuring this entire monitoring process so that every time an event happens, the information will be sent to the Lambda function, and that function is going to be triggered by this CloudWatch. So why exactly, which the thing which I am talking about, why exactly it is important in the real world basically. So you can imagine in such a way that you are basically managing multiple servers on AWS, whether you are working as a cloud engineer or you are working as a DevOps engineer, or maybe you are a student wants to learn this entire process. This is a very important process, and so many interviewers ask this question in the interview that how exactly you can save cost if multiple virtual machines are running on the AWS cloud, and because of the idle resources, maybe those virtual machines are not being utilized by the architecture or the infrastructure, and you are responsible to automate the process of stopping and starting the EC2 instances based on the usage capabilities maybe, and then you can save the cost. So keeping running your EC2 instances 24 into 7 even when they are not in use can get so much expensive for an organization. So in this specific lab, we are going to see how to automate the stopping and starting of these servers whenever we required, so that we will be able to help the organization to reduce their cost, to minimize their waste, and to optimize their resource usage. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you will have a very solid understanding on how these AWS services work together to streamline the cloud infrastructure, right? So let's just jump right in. Now, what exactly the purpose of this entire lab? So why we are doing this? So the goal is to understand how to automate EC2 servers management using the serverless compute service, which is AWS Lambda, and monitoring tool like CloudWatch. So this will be useful for reducing the cost because it will shut down unused EC2 instances and you efficiently manage the resources in the AWS. What will be the outcome of this entire lab? How you will learn, what you will learn, how to create, monitor, and manage your EC2 instances using automated serverless functions using AWS Lambda. So this lab will demonstrate a very simple but powerful way to manage your cloud infrastructure automatically, saving time and reducing cost. So what are the few simple steps we are going to follow in this entire lab? First, we'll create an EC2 instance, which will act as our server in the cloud, which is nothing but the virtual machine. Next, we'll create the Lambda function, in which the Lambda function we are going to write in Python programming language that will basically control the EC2 instance states. And then we'll set up the CloudWatch events so that it will be able to trigger the Lambda function on a specific schedule. In our use case, we will take every minute to be exact, so that every minute it will trigger the Lambda function on a specific schedule. And finally, we will be testing everything to make sure the automation is working correctly. So let's get started without wasting any further time. Just allow me to start this video. Thank you so much, folks. My name is Virender and I'm working as a senior AWS consultant. I have more than 8 years of experience in the IT industry. And I have done more than 6 to 7 certifications of AWS, and now I'm planning for the 8th certification of AWS. Fine, this is what about me, and now let's get started to create our first virtual machine in the cloud. So that you need to navigate first to the EC2 dashboard over here. Click on this instances running option over here, and you have this option of launch instance over here. Click on that. Now, the very first thing, you need to provide a name to your virtual machine or your server basically. Now, in our case, let's give it name as my server. Fine. It's a very, very simple name. Now you need to select the operating system, in which operating system you want to create this virtual machine using which operating system. I'm going to use Amazon Linux, which have basically 64-bit into 86 architecture. Amazon Linux 2023 Amazon machine image I'm going to use, which will have all the operating system, application server, and application configuration software inside this AMI, so that manually we will not need to install any operating system in this virtual machine. What should be your instance type? In our case, let's select this T2.micro, in which we will get one virtual CPU, 1 gigabits of memory, and the generation will be true over here. Is it the current generation? Yes, it's the current generation. Now you can also select a key pair. In this case, I'm going to select proceed without a key pair. You can create a new key pair by clicking on this, and .pem file will be downloaded inside your local system. Using that, you will be able to securely access your EC2 instance using a third party tool. In the network settings, just use the default VPC and all the default settings, as we are not going to connect to the EC2 instance. So there is no purpose of configuring any network settings for this virtual machine basically. And now I will just click on this launch instance button, and in just couple of seconds, your virtual machine will be up and running and everything will be going smoothly. Successfully, we have created our virtual machine, which is now in the running state, but the status check is now in the initializing state. So far, so good. So let's wait for the status checks to be 2 by 2 passed. Meanwhile, without wasting this time by checking again and again the status check for the EC2 instance, let's move towards the Lambda service. And in this Lambda service, you can see over here, this is the dashboard of this Lambda service, in which you can see that you have an option of create function of AWS Lambda. Now, this function is nothing but will be a piece of code which you can run without managing the backend infrastructure, which is nothing but the physical servers or any type of servers you don't have to manage. You just create a function, use your code in specific programming language, which based on the requirement of the organization, or maybe you are well versed on a specific programming language. Using that, you can create this Lambda function, right? So I'm going to create this Lambda function from very scratch from here, and then you can just provide a name to this Lambda function. It's my function, my rules, and that dialogue I don't remembering. My life, my rules. Yes, it's my AWS account and it's my function. Node.js, Node, I'm going to use this Python. Let's see, Python. I'm going to use Python 3.8 version this time, because the code which I have already written, it supports 3.8 only, so that's why. Okay, apart from that, nothing to do with the permission section over here. Basically, you can create a new role with the, so this Lambda is going to create a automatically will create a new Lambda function using the different permissions over here. So what you can do, you can choose an existing role as well. Otherwise, you can create a new role from AWS policy templates as well, right? I'm going to select this create a new role with basic Lambda permissions. What will happen? It will automatically create a new role, and we'll go to that role and we'll provide more permissions to that role if any error will happen during the process, right? And let's just click on this create function over here. Now you will see that the function will be created automatically. Not automatically, we have manually created this function using AWS Management Console, and it will take a little bit of time, maybe a couple of seconds. Meanwhile, let's just check the status check of our EC2 instance, if it is running or not. Yes, 2 by 2 status check passed, and now my virtual machine, my server, is now in the running state. You can click on this instance ID over here, and you will be able to see public IP and private IP address and each and every detail of your virtual machine over here. And now successfully we have created our my function as well. It's my AWS account, so that it has my function. You will create your function. Okay, This is your function Amazon resource name. Using this ARN, your resource will be identified in the resources of the AWS inside your account basically. This is the space to write the code which you are going to write in Python programming language or any other programming language. Fine. Now I will go to the CloudWatch section over here, and now we are going to create this CloudWatch events basically, right? Now this is the CloudWatch dashboard you can see over here. Now here we have the specific option over here, and let's go to the, let me just check. Yes, you need to go to the rules section in the event section over here. And over here, what you need to do is that, see, I have already created a rule over here. So this rule is basically for my last lab in which we have seen that how to create a specific cloud formation environment in which you will get a notification over your email every time or every day at 7 p.m. in a specific time frame, that how much resources are being running inside your account and what is the cost you are basically wearing, right? Okay. Now we are in the Amazon event bridge over here, and you need to click on this create rule over here. And first you need to provide this rule name. We are creating a CloudWatch rule in the AWS event bridge service using AWS CloudWatch. Now it's my life and it's my rule, so I will give name as my rule. You can provide a description if you want. Otherwise, event bus should be the default. And in the rule type, if you click on this info button over here, you can see that there are two rule types are available. Either you can use this schedule or you can use this rule with an event pattern. So this event pattern will basically useful and for a specific type of rule that is basically triggered whenever an event matching the pattern which you will be deciding using this event pattern rule. Whenever that pattern is going to be matched by the specific event, then this rule is going to be triggered. And even if you choose a predefined pattern, you can then edit the pattern in the customized way as well, right? But we are going to use this schedule, a rule that runs on a specific schedule. So if you are choosing this schedule, it will make this as a rule that is triggered regularly on the schedule you specify, right? So you can specify your own rules using this schedule over here. Now these are the different configurations which you need to perform so far. And now I will click on this continue in the event bridge scheduler. It will take me to the next step where we need to specify the schedule details. So now in the schedule group, I will just select this default, which is by default it's selected. And in this queue scheduled pattern over here, we have this occurrence. So you can define at a specific one time that it will be the pattern which you are creating over here using these rules will be one time, or it will be recurrent schedule, that it will continuously use that specific pattern which you will be deciding on the specific schedule which you will be deciding. So I will be using recurring schedule, so that I need maybe your organization is running thousands of EC2 instances and you want in every 2 hours the instances is going to be stopped, and every 2 hours instances are going to be started by this specific pattern which we are configuring over here, right? Now what should be your schedule type? I will select a rate based schedule over here. What should be your rate from minutes to hours? So I'm selecting every 1 minute over here. Okay. So we are entering 1 minute value and the unit of time to run this specific schedule over here, right? Apart from that, there is a flexible time window over here. So if you choose a flexible time window, the scheduler will able to invoke your schedule within the time window you are specifying. So for an example, if you are choosing 15 minutes, if you are choosing 20 minutes, your schedule runs within the 15 minutes after the schedule start time. Basically, I'm going to make it off over here. I have defined this 1 minute. So every 1 minute, my schedule is going to be happen. right? Then in the time frame section, these are the optional. Basically, you can define the time frame as well, maybe in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. The time frame you can select. Otherwise, you can just skip this step and click on this next over here. In this target details, you need to select a target for this specific event with this scheduler, that what service you want to target over here. So we want to target AWS Lambda over here, because we have created this Lambda function named as my function over here, right? And apart from that, no need to do anything over here. Just click on this next over here. Now we have this scheduled state over here. No need to do anything over here. Action after scheduling completion. Do you want to delete or do you want to none? And you can select none over here. And then any dead letter queue policy or any retry policy you want to configure over here. So by default, this event based scheduler will be able to attempt to retry failed invocations, which means whatever it is going to be try in case of stopping the instance or starting the instance, if that is not happening because of any reason, it will attempt a retry as well. That is what you can configure over here. Apart from that, there is nothing to do. Automatically the role will be created by this event bridge. Click on this next. These are the details and just click on this create schedule over here. Okay, so it is just completing the schedule where there are a couple of steps it need to follow, and then my rule is basically created over here. Now we have created the virtual machine, you can see over here. Fine, we have created our Lambda function, which is our my function. Let me just refresh it again. Okay, you can see the virtual machine over here. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. Yes, and we have created the event bridge scheduler as well using AWS CloudWatch Event Bridge. Now in this my function, I have already written one code. Let me just copy that code and let me just paste it over here. So let me just explain a little bit about this code. Not here. Let me just go to the Word file over here and let me just write the code over here. So if you are able to see this code over here, there are a couple of steps we have followed in which we have imported the important libraries, in which we have imported the JSON, which is a built-in Python module. So that will be able to work with the JSON data, for example, for the output or input of the APIs basically. Then we have imported the Boto3, which is software development kit for Python. So that will be able to connect with the different AWS services using Python programming language. Then we have this Lambda handler, which has the event and the context basically. So the event will basically contains the information about the event that is going to be triggered by the Lambda function. And we have that context, which basically will give us the runtime information, like how much time is remaining for the execution. All these things we use this Lambda handler, which is a default statement given in the Lambda function itself. If you're not editing the Lambda function, which is by default will be given in this specific space, right? We have specified the AWS region in which it is going to be checked for the EC2 instance. We have created a Boto3 client for the EC2, so that we'll be able to access the EC2 service. And then we have also described the instance status state. So it is going to be check all the states of the EC2 instances, whether they are stopped, whether they are in the running state, whether they are in any other state as well. So we have specified over here true. Then we have used the for loop over here, in which the status is going to be checked. The list of all the EC2 instance status information is going to be checked over here with the help of the different instance status and different instance IDs. It is going to be checked for the instance IDs. So if that is happening, that is good. Then if the instances are running, it is going to be stop that instance. If the instances are in the stop state, it is going to be start the EC2 instance. Apart from anything else, that it will use the instance ID as that specific information, right? This is the specific Python code which we have used over here. Now if you want to use this Python code and if you want to just test this specific Lambda function, you just need to deploy this Python code first. And once your code will be deployed in your Lambda function, or this code is deployed in the backend infrastructure, you will be able to test this Lambda function. So what you need to do, you just need to configure a test event over here. This will be, of course, my event because it's my AWS account and it's my Lambda function, and it will be private. And just click on this save button over here. And now I'm going to click on this test over here, and let's see how much time it will take to give us the result. But we are facing some error message. The first error we are getting as timeout. Okay. We need to go to the configuration section, general configuration. The timeout by default timeout is 3 seconds. Let me just increase this timeout probably to maybe 1 minute so that it will take uh, the enough time to execute. And apart from that, let's go to the permission and let's go to the specific role which has been created by the Lambda function automatically. And let's check for the permissions as well. And let's just, for the sake of this lab, let me just provide uh, the administrator access to this specific role so that if it will be able to access the EC2 as well as CloudWatch or any other AWS service as well. Okay, so far so good. We have configured multiple things over here. We have increased the timeout limit and we have also given the administrator access to this Lambda function over here. Let me just test it again and let's check if this time we'll face any error or not. So there will be no error this time. Instance status is in the running state. Okay. And it is going to be stop the instance. Let's just go to the EC2 section and let me just refresh over here. So you can see it started stopping the EC2 instance. So after every 1 minute, it will stop the EC2 instance, and then after every 1 minute, the stop the EC2 instance is going to be start by this Lambda function automatically. This is what is the entire process we have seen. So AWS Lambda functions, basically if it is on a schedule, is that the scheduling precision is limited to 1 minute of intervals. This means that you can schedule a Lambda function to run a specific times or intervals, but the finest, you can say that the finest granularity available is 1 minute. You can configure in other ways as well according to the requirement of your organization where exactly you are working. So you can see that it had stopped the EC2 instance and it has again run the EC2 instance. Now the instance come in the running state. If I will again refresh it, and after 1 minute it will stop this running EC2 instance automatically, right? This is how you can automate the process of stopping and starting EC2 instances using AWS Lambda, AWS CloudWatch Event Bridge rule. Let me just delete this rule from here. Rule has been deleted, and let me also delete this function as well. And now we'll delete or we'll terminate this EC2 instance as well. Okay, everything is done. So always whenever you try this specific lab in your system, always try or always remember to delete all the resources whatever you create during this practice purpose. Fine. I hope all the things are clear to all of you and you enjoyed this video. So if you enjoyed this video and if you have learned a new thing, so do hit a like button and comment if you have any suggestions, or if you want to share any message, or any, if you find any problem or any error in this specific video, or you want to ask something to me, you can put a comment in the comment box. Thank you so much for watching this video, and your one like will be very, very important for me. And please subscribe my YouTube channel as it will help me and my channel to grow on YouTube. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.